let's be honest about this. Patrick Moronoglu admitted, yes, he was coaching, which is against the rules. You're not allowed to coach in match at the Open. There are certain tournaments where they've started to allow some of that coaching, but in this situation, you absolutely cannot coach.
And his excuse was everybody's doing it. It's kind of like everybody driving 80 and who gets caught.
Yeah.
If you don't get caught, you got away with it. If you get caught, then he got caught.
Correct.
So he got caught, and Serena got the violation for it, which basically this started it because she went to that chair umpire and she said, I don't cheat.
Yes.
You're accusing me of cheating. I'd rather lose than cheat. To which Patrick McEnroe, when he was talking about this whole thing, I heard him and say, this is where it started. He said the umpire could have started it right there by diffusing the situation and saying, Miss Williams, I'm not accusing you of cheating.
Correct.
Your violation is your coach was coaching you. I never said you were cheating. Patrick said he could have started to diffuse the situation then. He didn't do that. She was obviously upset. Then she breaks her racket. That's the second violation, and that's going to cost her a point. And then she keeps going at it with the head umpire
Ramos.
as she's sitting there, eventually calling him a thief and then costing her the third violation and the game. So the two sides of this thing. By the way, she got fined $17,000 for the three separate incidents. $4,000 for the coaching violation, $3,000 for smashing a racket. And by the way, she's responsible for her coach.
Yes.
She's responsible for her coach, even though the coach said everybody is doing it. $4,000 for that, $3,000 for smashing the racket, $10,000 for verbal abuse towards the umpire. So my thought on this is Serena kept this going and couldn't put it away. Because I also heard Patrick McEnroe say, guys who have gotten to this situation because we were talking about women and men got mad about it. He talked about Nadal at one time getting heated, but then he was able to put it away and then just go play tennis. He said Serena made the mistake of not putting it away and keep going and going and going. And Patrick McEnroe said that's on her. She should have found a way to end it and go back to just playing tennis. And then Patrick also said that chair umpire was wrong, absolutely wrong for taking the game because he knew the next violation was going to be a game violation.
Correct.
He absolutely knew it. So it should have taken short of an earthquake to make him give that penalty to cost a game, according to Patrick McEnroe. And I think a lot of people, and it was the word thief, when we have seen, the Twitter was littered with men calling names out of linesmen and or umpires and not getting anything for it. And Serena called this guy a thief, and it was the buildup of the tirade that cost her the game.
Yeah, I think we need to be really clear about three things here in this situation. Serena, by what she did, allowed the situation to
absolutely
escalate.
Right.
The second point, which I think is the most critical, Carlos Ramos, the umpire, by the letter of the law, did what you can do, which is the first one was a warning, the second one is a point, and the third one is a game.
Right.
But just because he could have doesn't mean he should have. And that, to me, is the biggest takeaway in all of this. I agree with you, Mike. Unless Serena walks up to him and says, I'm going to bash your brains in with my tennis racket, to take away a game from someone in the final of a major on the tennis tour, after having lost the first set, in the second set, I think that is egregious.
Yeah.
And I think Carlos Ramos has to do a much better job of controlling himself in that situation, much in the same way that Serena maybe had to do a better job of controlling her emotions. And I think that's where the point gets sticky, because I don't think we've ever seen this situation happen with a male player where they've taken in this situation.
Right.
Context matters in all of this thing. Context matters in all of the thing. Remember earlier at this U.S. Open, we had a chair umpire come down and coach Nick Kyrgios to try and who's very temperamental, for lack of a better term, to say, hey, you need to be trying here, which is way over the line. So my issue is just because he could have doesn't mean he should have. Yes, by the letter of the law, you could do this 1, 2, 3. But to me, her indiscretion, her aggression was not nearly egregious enough, in my opinion, to allow him to take away a game.
And remember, this all started with coaching from the stands. And I just mentioned that the head guy at the WTA, Steve Simon, he thinks coaching should be allowed.
Yes, I think it should be too.
Coaching should be allowed, and that would have obviously.
But that's a separate discussion.
It's a separate, but it would have certainly stopped this situation. And other point, and the most important point, is Naomi Osaka.
Yes.
I mean, what happened at the ceremony? That's just such a shame for such a young lady who got her first Grand Slam title and basically apologized for beating Serena because she knew everybody was rooting for her. And it was very nice in that moment of Serena to tell the crowd to stop booing and kind of put her arm around Naomi. I don't know what she said to her, but it was just a shame for that young lady's brightest moment of her career. And hopefully there'll be many more, but it was the biggest, brightest at this point, was basically ruined by that situation.
Yeah, and the bottom line, Naomi Osaka was by far the better player.
Yes, she was. Without question, she was the champion.
That is not debatable. Yes. Listen, Serena is the ultimate champion. I get all that. But I still think, had that game not taken away, I think we're still looking at Naomi Osaka as the women's U.S. Open champion. And I thought the way Serena handled that at the post-match ceremony was very classy. And Naomi had this great reaction afterwards. She said, "You don't understand. It's Serena Williams. I mean, like, I've always wanted to play Serena Williams. It was very difficult. Right. I mean, once I got the competitor in me, I wanted to beat her. But, being up there and dealing with that, I thought she handled herself very, very, very well. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. She was clearly the better player. Absolutely right. Come Saturday night. So congratulations.
And by the way, what I didn't know, I didn't know the check that came along with it.
It's a big one.
$3.8 million she got for winning that.
It's a big one.
Holy smokes!
There's a lot of controversy whether or not the champions' money should be that far weighted in tennis, and it should be more distributed down the line. But
she don't care right now.
No, she's cashing those checks, and I thought the way she handled it was really, really well done.